And Evan, of course, since we talked to you last, Dakari Johnson committed to Kentucky. Can you explain to people who maybe have not seen him play, what kind of player is Dakari Johnson, and how is he different than the Nerlens Noel, Willie Cauley-Stein, Anthony Davis centers that John Calipari's had?
TJ, Kentucky got another five-star pickup, this time Dakari Johnson. He committed to the Wildcats over the weekend, and this is a big deal. He's Scout.com's #1 overall center. And, you know, TJ, I think he's a guy that really brings a lot to the table, but what really stands out to me the most is his ability to rebound. I think he is probably the best rebounder in this 2013 class, and I think that's how he's going to separate himself and be different than some of these guys that Kentucky already has in the post. Dakari Johnson, great hands, good touch, still developing his post moves, but there's a lot to work with. And as I said, I think he's the best rebounder in the 2013 class. So a significant pickup and another top recruit for the Kentucky Wildcats.
He's a sixth commitment, of course, in that class. It could, who knows, maybe the best ever when it's all said and done. But being another big guy joining Marcus Lee, how does his commitment affect the recruitment of guys like Julius Randle and Aaron Gordon?
You know, TJ, I don't think the pickup of Dakari Johnson really affects the recruitments of Julius Randle or Aaron Gordon. I think Kentucky is still pursuing both of those guys, and I think both of those guys want to play somewhat on the perimeter, but more as a four-man anyways. I think Dakari Johnson's a pure center, so there's room for all these guys. And, you know, Kentucky's going to have some scholarships, and they're still out actively pursuing Julius Randle and Aaron Gordon. And, you know, I still think that they're heavily involved with each of them, and I don't think the pickup of Dakari Johnson affects them at all.
D'Angelo Russell is a shooting guard in the 2014 class, a teammate of Dakari Johnson's. Does his commitment to UK help the Cats' chances with D'Angelo Russell?
You know, TJ, Kentucky is recruiting D'Angelo Russell. They've kept tabs on him. They've made calls. They've gone to see him. He's obviously a teammate of Dakari Johnson. So Kentucky's recruiting him. They haven't offered him a scholarship. I wouldn't say they're heavily pursuing him. Would it help if they do offer? I'm sure it will. You know, I think D'Angelo Russell's a guy that wants to play closer to home. But at this stage, Kentucky hasn't ramped up their attention with him and has not offered him a scholarship. So there's still a ways to go with the D'Angelo Russell recruitment.
You made some internet news this week. You're a very popular man on Twitter for a lot of different reasons because of your take on Andrew Wiggins. You sent out something about Florida State, Andrew Wiggins, and made a lot of waves. Can you take us through that and talk about what is the latest with Andrew Wiggins' recruitment?
You know, TJ, I caused a bit of a stir when I was asked on Twitter where I thought Andrew Wiggins was headed. And, you know, that day I said, as of today, I think Andrew Wiggins would probably headed to Florida State. You know, with that said, I think there's a long ways to go in this recruitment. He's still going to take other visits. I just think Florida State to this point has done a great job. They're the only school that has gotten an official visit out of him. Both his parents went to Florida State. So as of today, I really do like Florida State's chances. But there's still a ways to go. Kentucky has plenty of time, and, you know, it's really hard to doubt John Calipari in these type of situations. So Kentucky's still involved. I think they're going to get a visit. I think North Carolina is going to get a visit, and maybe even Kansas. So I do like Florida State right now, but that could obviously change, as we all know recruiting changes daily. So Florida State right now, but we'll see. There's still a lot to play out in the Andrew Wiggins recruitment.
Finally, before we let you go, Tyus Jones is the #1 point guard in the 2014 class. He's going to come visit Kentucky. Take us through his recruitment. What type of player is he, and what kind of difference it can make getting him on campus this early?
Kentucky has a huge visitor this weekend. Tyus Jones, our #1 player in the 2014 class and also the #1 point guard, is headed to Kentucky for an unofficial visit. I've confirmed that with a couple sources, and this is a big deal. Calipari has been down to see him a couple times this year. I think he's probably their top target, and you know how John Calipari is with the top point guards. He loves them, and he loves having a big-time point guard run his show, and that's exactly what Tyus Jones is. So this is a big visit. He's also being heavily pursued by Duke and Michigan State and a host of other programs, but I think Kentucky's in great shape currently with Tyus Jones, and getting him on campus only helps.